new Royal Enfield 450 Himalayan is a brand new bike. There's no parts carried over from the old 411s that came out in 2016. This bike has been built from the ground up to be a more modern, better version of the whole theme, the whole idea, but the target audience is still the same. It's still aimed at people who want a small capacity adventure bike that's affordable, that will go everywhere, that's built well, that's robust. And they've done a lot of work to build this bike to be better than the old one. And they've started out by canting the engine forward a little bit in the chassis to give themselves more room here so that it's easier to get your feet on the ground. So seat height is always a big issue with adventure bikes and people wanting to get their feet on the ground. When you're paddling around in the bush trying to get traction on tough hills and things like that, it makes a big difference. So they've tried to make it narrower here, and to do that they've needed to get some space here. So they've put the air filter above the engine and they've wrapped the tank around the air filter. The Himalayan runs a 450cc single. This one's now liquid cooled, their first liquid cooled engine. Produces quite a bit more power than the old bike, and it's quite nice, good to ride. It's actually a lot more capable than the older model and just works, really very well. So it's a whole new shape to the tank, a whole new frame, but it's still made out of a steel chassis, and it's still very well built from without a lot of plastic involved. So coming back, they've redesigned the whole back end. They've got a big linkage on that single shock absorber these days. They've now got upside down shower suspension, and the suspension's set up a little bit soft for a lot of people dirt bike riding, but I actually think it's really quite well set up for the intended audience and the people that are going to be using this bike. Because if it was set up firmer, people would ride it harder, and then that would tax everything else. So I think it's actually a really good compromise. And the other thing about this is the way they've set it up with the steering geometry and the suspension and the wheels. It actually works really well on the bitumen. So I was shocked at how hard you could tip this bike in, given that it's got a 21-inch front wheel, and yet on the bitumen it works really well. Off-road, we dropped the tyre pressures a little bit to make it cope a bit better with the rough stuff and the rocks that we were riding over yesterday. And we also took out the rubber foot peg grommets out of there to give you more grip on the foot pegs. And that combined to actually make this bike very capable off-road. So it works really well on the fire trails and the four-wheel drive tracks and things like that we were riding yesterday. Amazingly competent for a bike that is so affordable. It's not an enduro bike. Please don't think it's an enduro bike. But what it is a lightweight adventure bike, which is much easier to manage in tough conditions than a bigger and heavier one. So if you don't have the experience of riding a big adventure bike and you don't have that confidence and skills, a bike like this will help you learn those and get those skills without so much trouble. Now, other things that they've changed for this year is they've added a TFT display, the first Royal Enfield with a full big TFT display, which is actually pretty cool. Works quite well. And it's got integration with your phone, so you can get Google Maps and you can get a lot of information into that and integrate with your phone. It comes standard with a few things that I really like a center stand. So if you do get a flat or something, you can get the wheels out, you can change the tube out. Now, which brings me to an interesting point. There's another model coming that's going to come with tubeless rims. So you'll be able to buy one with the option of not running tubes, which is a really good thing too. And certainly something I would prefer. It's got a standard rack on the back here with grab rails, so if you do want to put a passenger on the back, you can. The subframe is now bolt on, so if you do have a crash and you bend the subframe, that's replaceable. It's still obviously chain drive. It's got big brakes on it for a bike of this size, ABS at the front and the rear, but you can switch the ABS off to the rear. One little bugbear that I wasn't totally happy with, but I think owners will get used to it. Well, I kept locking up that back brake when I turned the ABS off in the dirt, because it's a big disc and it's quite sensitive to that. So maybe some harder pads or maybe just more practice and get used to it a bit more. A couple of other little things I would have loved to have seen: adjustable levers. Unfortunately, it doesn't have those. These mirrors aren't too bad, although I'd probably get something different for off-road. There's a whole bunch of accessories coming for the bike as well. You can get panniers, you can get a top box. They're going to have soft luggage. It's going to be luggage for these racks up here. These are not crash bars, they're luggage racks. But you can get crash protection gear, bash plates and things like that. And it's all quite affordable. There's a whole bunch of colours available, a whole bunch of different things to choose from. You can tailor them to make them your own, and definitely worth a look and really well priced. So drop into your Royal Enfield dealer, have a look and make up your own mind. But big improvement on the bike, much better than the old one. And yeah, it's up there with Japanese quality these days.